Welcome to NFL Daily. I am Will Scott. If you missed it, late last night, the Houston Texans fired head coach Lovie Smith after just one season at the helm. This, of course, is the second straight one-and-done coach in Houston. Last year, David Culley was fired after just 1 year. So this is the third straight offseason that the Texans will be looking for a head coach. Of course, yesterday, the Texans had to lose to still have the number one pick in the draft, and they had that crazy comeback, and then Lovie Smith went for two at the end to win it for Houston. If you ask me, he probably knew he was out and slamming the door shut on his way out of the 7-1-3. Now, should Lovie Smith have been fired? Why for yes, in for no, down in the comments section. The Texans might have been a little bit better than their record this year. They were really competitive against some good teams like Dallas. I mean, they probably should have beaten Dallas that week. Should Lovie Smith have been fired? Why for yes, in for no. Now, I do agree with anybody that would say it's probably a little bit harsh to fire Lovie after 1 year. He's a culture builder, a program builder, probably deserved more than just one season. But at the same time, there are a lot of quality candidates in this coaching cycle, so you can certainly understand why the Texans wanted to move on and look at some of the names we're about to discuss. On today's show, we're going to break down the top 10 names for the Houston Texans opening. And we begin with probably the most unrealistic name on this list, Sean Payton. But the reason that he's still on this list is because he could go into Houston and have pretty much total control of all decision-making in that organization. That's something the Texans might need right now. A guy like Sean Payton to turn things around. Now, he just did interview in Denver, but let's say New Orleans wants more than just one first-round pick for Sean Payton. The Texans certainly have the assets to get him. They have a lot of draft picks in coming years. Eric Bienemy coming in at number 9 on our list. I don't know if he's going to be interested in the Houston job, but Houston might be interested in him. Now, I remember the last 2 years, it felt like the Texans weren't interested at first and then interviewed him kind of at the last second, but he was never really in the mix in Houston, which I don't understand. I think that he would be a very good candidate here for the Texans. Again, he has not gotten a job after all the interviews he's done the last couple of years. Maybe this is the cycle that he finally gets the opportunity that he deserves. Frank Reicht, meanwhile, it's going to be interesting to see if the former Colts head coach is interested in openings this year. Maybe he'll want to take a year off. I don't know. But I think he could be a good stabilizer in Houston. I think he's a great coach. I think the Colts made a mistake letting him go when they did. He's a good coach. Come in and change the culture in Houston right away. And then Ejiro Evero, he is expected to get a lot of interest here for a job, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. You might be saying, Will, the Broncos sucked this year. Well, not the defense. The defense was far from the problem. Top half defense in the league, top 10 rushing defense, 12th in passing, 14th scoring defense. The Broncos defense was far from the problem in Denver this year. Now, who would be the best hire for the Texans right now? Go down in the comments section. Let me know who would be the best hire in Houston. Some of y'all might say an Eagles coordinator. We're going to talk about another one here in a second. But let's talk about Shane Steichen now. He has had an impressive resume. He's worked with a lot of different quarterbacks, obviously Jalen Hurts being the most recent. Houston is expected to draft a quarterback with the second overall pick in the draft, probably going to be Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Maybe they feel like Steichen's the guy to come in and mold the young quarterback, the new franchise quarterback that they're going to bring in Houston. Well, Rocket Money's probably tracking how much money the Texans are going to be spending in the coming years on coaches that they're paying not to coach, like David Culley and Lovie Smith. They're going to owe them money for a long time. Well, you can track your finances at rocketmoney.com/NFL Daily. They're going to cancel unnecessary subscriptions. That's why I love using Rocket Money. The app formerly known as Truebill, you can find all your subscriptions in one place and then cancel for you whatever you don't still want. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel one, all you got to do is press cancel. They will take care of the rest. Another great thing I love about Rocket Money is they'll track my monthly spending. So right now, I've spent about $100 more this month than I did this time last month. I'm going to try to get that number down. rocketmoney.com/NFL Daily. Keep track of your subscriptions. Keep track of your expenses. That is the link. That link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Here we go. You knew this guy was going to be on our list. You knew this guy was going to be on our list. Josh McCown, former NFL quarterback, does not have any coaching experience. I think he coached assistant coach for a high school team for a season. But even with no coaching experience, he's interviewed with Houston in the last 2 coaching cycles, and they apparently really wanted him last year. But after the Brian Flores lawsuit against the league, they didn't think it'd be a great look. They end up promoting Lovie Smith. So, Coach McCown, don't be surprised if Josh McCown ends up in Houston. He was the backup quarterback there in 2019. Well, I should say in 2020. They thought about hiring him after the 2020 season. It did not happen. But do not be surprised if Josh McCown gets hired here in Houston. He is interviewed with the Texans the last 2 coaching cycles, and I would be shocked if they don't at least give him a call here. Now, would Josh McCown be a good or bad hire? Type G for good or type B for bad? Here's what I'm going to say. Look what happened when the Colts hired a former player with no coaching experience. Let's move on to Jerod Mayo, the linebackers coach for the Patriots. And look, there's obviously a lot of Patriots ties with Houston. Nick Caserio, the GM, was once with the Patriots organization. So pretty much everybody with the Patriots is going to be linked to Houston here at some point. And Mayo was a Texans candidate last year. They have said they're not Patriots South, but we'll see. They seem to like Patriots candidates over there in Houston. Jerod Mayo, I think, though, would be a really solid hire. Got some interest last year. At one point was the front runner for the Houston job before they hired Lovie Smith. I really like Ben Johnson. He might be my favorite candidate in this cycle. I mean, what he did with the Lions offense was remarkable. I mean, take a look at these numbers. The Detroit Lions doing this on offense. 5th in scoring, 4th in yards per game, 8th in passing, 11th in rushing. I mean, Ben Johnson could be the next big thing. This could be the next Sean McVay. This could be the next Kyle Shanahan. Maybe a guy like Mike McDaniel that goes in, changes the culture in Houston like Mike McDaniel did in Miami this year. So Johnson could be the next big thing. He would be a great hire for whoever gets him. Houston, I expect to interview him. Jonathan Gannon, Houston interviewed him last year. In fact, Gannon was a finalist for the job last year in Houston. The 3 finalists for the job, Jonathan Gannon, Brian Flores, and Lovie Smith, they ultimately went with Lovie, promoting him. But Gannon, I think, would be a solid hire. He's done a good job with that Eagles defense. Eagles #1 seed in the NFC this year. Both of their coordinators, Steichen and Gannon, expected to get a lot of interest for that job. But #1 on my list is DeMeco Ryans. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Texans. He is a Texans legend, played 6 seasons in Houston, was a 2-time Pro Bowler. He is still beloved in H-Town. Taking a look at his resume here. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 2-time Pro Bowler, 10 seasons in the NFL, including 6 with Houston. He was an assistant in San Francisco 2017-2020, then got promoted to their defensive coordinator prior to the 2021 season, and he's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league right now. 1st in scoring, surprisingly 20th in passing, but 2nd in rushing, but the best defense in the league in San Francisco, which is why I think the Houston Texans should bring DeMeco Ryans home to the place that he started his career. I think this would be a slam dunk hire for the Texans. If there's anybody, and I mean anybody, that can get Houston back on track. This has been a struggling franchise. Get them back on track and hire DeMeco Ryans. But who will the Texans hire? Go down in the comments section. Let me know, who are the Houston Texans going to hire? If I had to guess, I would say Jonathan Gannon is a name to watch there, but I would not be surprised about Josh McCown, so we'll see. Subscribe. It is Black Monday in the NFL. There's probably going to be more firings that happen, and we're going to get you a hot board for every single opening in the league.